Well, hello everybody. Hi. Sorry about that. You're at home with Melissa, and I'm really glad you're here. Today is turning out to be a pretty intense gardening day. Well, it's all indoors, easy stuff, but a lot of it, I think. Yeah. Anyway, I'm glad you're here because I'm a dingbat. I just realized I was going to make hello. I was going to make a hydroponic grow bed, and it occurred to me that I've shared with you before in other videos, at least one other video, how I made a really easy aquaponic bed. And I have never shown you how easy it can be to make a hydroponic bed. Now, if you're sitting there going, all of that sounds like Greek to me, don't worry. Don't worry. You've come to the right place because you and I are going to talk about the whole thing, beginning to end, show you how it's done, or at least this method. There are a lot of different ways to do it. It's really easy, but I'm going to show you how I do it, how I've made a lot of hydroponic grow beds at my house, okay? Now, first thing you're going to need is your container. Now, your container just has to be anything that'll hold water. You don't want any holes in it. You want it to hold water because hydroponics is all that means. It's just a huge word that just means growing plants in water base instead of soil base. And aquaponics, the only difference between that and hydroponics is that in aquaponics, you set up kind of a more complicated system because what you do is you get fish in the mix. And the fish live in their water and they produce their waste. Their waste fertilizes the plants. The plants take the waste out of the water and return clean water to the fish. So, I mean, I really like that. It's a nice symbiotic thing. It's a lot of fun. But it does complicate things because now you're caring for fish or crayfish or what have you, crustaceans. But you don't need to do that. You can do aquaponics and just grow plants in water instead of soil. And so you need the container that's going to hold the water. Then what you're going to want to get, and these are really cheap, you can get an air pump. It's an external air pump for aquariums. And you can get those in any pet store, pet department, in any store. You don't need anything powerful. So get the smallest, cheapest one you can. Because all you're going to do is you're going to use it to pump a little bit of a little bit of air into your water. And it doesn't have to be a lot. It's just a little bit. That keeps the water from going stagnant and getting all stinky and nasty and rotting your plants and just being a nightmare. So you get your nice cheap air pump that's used for aquariums, and then you're going to need some air tubing. Now I have some air tubing right here to show you. This is probably not what your air tubing is going to look like. It's probably going to be white or clear. This is green because it's actually the tubing that it's a bit of old tubing that I used for an oxygen tank. And I've got new tubing now, so this old stuff that's used, I could have thrown it out, but instead I'm going to use it for our hydroponic bed because it's the same size, same diameter as the air tubing, also available anywhere they sell aquarium supplies, and really super cheap. You can get like 6 feet of it for a few dollars. And all that's going to do is your air pump has a little nozzle in the front. And what you'll do is you'll take one end of your air tubing and you'll put it over that nozzle. So your air pump's pumping the air out and it's going through the tube. The tube just concentrates that air and leads it into your grow bed. So you just need enough tubing to get from wherever you're setting your pump into your grow bed. And I am actually going to set my pump up quite a distance from my grow bed just because of where this one's going to go. So I'm going to need quite a length. There we go. And I'm cutting my tubing with a pair of aquascaping scissors. So that should show you right there. This is why none of my tools work for very long. And all right. So you've got your one end of your tubing plugged into the air pump. The other end is going to go down into your grow bed. And on the end of it, you want to put an air stone. You can get big, complicated ones, but you can just get these little ones, super duper cheap. And what they are is there's porous stone. See that porous stone on the end? And then on the other end, again, is a nozzle. So you've got one end of your air tubing over the nozzle in your air pump. The other end of the tubing will go over the nozzle to your air stone. And you just push it and it'll go down. You push it till it gets right to the stone. What the stone is it's a little porous stone. As the air comes down, it comes through the little nozzle into this porous stone, which diffuses the air and sends it out in all directions. What it also does is helps keep anything from plugging your tubing, so that you'll continue to have air go into your grow bed. So you just put that in the bottom of your grow bed. It can go at an edge, it can go in the middle. It doesn't really matter. Just on the bottom of your thing. And you don't need a container like this. These storage containers are great. And I like them because they're clear, which means that as I'm growing things in them, I can look and see through the side where the level of water is in them. Because remember, you're growing in water instead of soil. So you want to make sure you always have a lot of water in them. But you can do it in any pot. Any pot. Just put a little air pump, pumping some air into it. And you can use one pump. Again, you don't need a lot of air, so you can use one air pump to pump air into multiple grow beds or pots. All you need to do is, again, in aquarium supply places, you just get a connector. Like it's a connecting valve. And what it does is your air tubing goes into one side. It's kind of like a cable splitter. Your air tubing goes into one side and it splits it, and then you take two pieces of tubing off the other side, and that can go to two grow beds. So it works out really nice. And you're using one pump. They don't use a lot of electricity. They don't cost a lot of money. And the reason I like growing hydroponically better than growing in soil, there are a few of them. One, soil can promote the growth of molds, mildews, fungi, things that aggravate asthma and allergies. Also, soil can attract what's called a fungus gnat. Fungus gnats lay their eggs in the soil, and the larvae live there. And then the gnats kind of stay around the soil and around your plants. And they're little black, annoying bugs. And there are ways to get rid of them. And in fact, right now, I don't have any. I do quite often get them, but I haven't since I started using a little microscopic bug called Hypoaspis miles. This bug eats the larvae for the fungus gnats and keeps their population under control. Between that and the fact that I continue to always grow more and more things hydroponically, I have fewer and fewer things growing in soil, but my soil is treated with these microscopic bugs, so I don't have fungus gnats. But your soil can attract them. Or you can buy potting soil or whatever, and you get it home and you find out that you have fungus gnats in your soil, and it's too late. Once you get them home, they're there. But if you grow in water, there's nowhere for these fungus gnats to live. So you don't have them, you don't have the fungus, you don't have the mold. And also, yeah, this is bad. Okay, I have a confession. I sometimes neglect my plants. And maybe you do too. I sometimes don't water them as much as I should. Well, aquaponics and hydroponics are a lot more forgiving than soil when it comes to that, because you're growing in pure water. So if you forget to top that water off for a few days, there's still water in there. It's still moist. Those plants aren't going to dry up as quickly. So I like it for that reason too. But in here now, even though you're growing in a base that's water, you want something to hold your plants up most likely. And you can use anything from rocks, stones, little pebbles. You can use lava rock. What I'm using in mine lately, and I really like it, is just plain vermiculite. Vermiculite, this is what it looks like. See that? It looks kind of like big sand. And it feels, it's hard to explain how it feels. It doesn't feel like rock, but that's what it is. It's kind of a puffed up, blown out rock. And it's really porous. And you use it, if you're using it in soil, you use it like you would use perlite. It basically serves the same function. But you can use pure vermiculite, which you can buy in huge, huge bags very, very cheaply. And you can use pure vermiculite as your growth medium. Well, not your growth medium, that's water, but as your base to hold your plants up. And what's good about the vermiculite is that it is porous. It will suck up a lot of water. So when you go to fill your container with water afterwards, you pour some water in, non-chlorinated of course. You pour your water in and wait, let the vermiculite suck it all up, and then you'll pour more water in until your vermiculite is completely saturated, and then there's still water floating free in your container. And the vermiculite, why I like it as a bed to hold everything up, it's nice, it's light, it helps decrease the weight of your container overall. It also, oh, dust, not good for me. It also, it also sucks up that water and holds it. So it holds moisture. And it'll keep your water from evaporating as quickly. And I like it. I like it a lot. I should have a dust mask on. That might be something you want to do if you're playing with your vermiculite, is put on a dust mask. Okay. Now, this particular container has little handles on the sides, and the handles make little holes in the sides. So, I know my water level is not going to go up beyond that, or I'll have it spilling everywhere. That being the case, I can fill my vermiculite up to right about where those holes are, because your water is going to be just a little bit below the top of your stones, rocks, pebbles, vermiculite, whatever it is that you're putting in here, okay? And let me just say, you can actually germinate seeds in a hydroponic bed. It gets a little bit more complicated. I'm going to try to, I have some hydroponic beds way up high on my kitchen shelves behind me. You can see the shelves with the plants on them. Way up high near the ceiling, I have some grow beds that need planted right now. And I'm going to try to just put some seeds on the top of the vermiculite and see if they'll germinate like that. At some point in a vlog or something, I'll tell you whether that worked. But I don't know if it will. What I do know will work is that they sell little baskets, and these are baskets that are often used for aquatic plants. They're just little plastic open baskets, and you can get a rock wool for in it, or you can, they sometimes come with little peat plugs depending on the brand and things like that. And what you'll do with those is, if you want to germinate seeds, you put your little basket with whatever's in the middle of it, its little growth thing, down into your grow bed so that the top of the basket is at the top of your vermiculite stone or whatever. And then the water level is a little bit below that. And what will happen is that the stuff within that little basket will suck the water up to the seed without drowning it. And so you can germinate seeds that way in your grow bed. And you can also do what a lot of people I think are doing now. They're going to find a way to alter things so that we can't. But a lot of people I think right now are buying some vegetables at the grocery store and then propagating them at home. And I'm going to show you in a minute kind of how that's done, because this bed is probably going to be filled up with the ends and bits that I have here that my mother gave me. So once you have your vermiculite or whatever you're growing, see, look at this whole big thing weighs nothing. That's another awesome thing about vermiculite. Okay, once you have your planting bed filled with your vermiculite or your stones or whatever, you now want to fill it with water. And you want that to be non-chlorinated water. And like I said, with the vermiculite, You're going to pour in water, and this rocky stuff will actually suck it all up. And you're just going to let it do that, and you're going to keep adding more until it's floating. And the water I'm using is from one of my rain barrels outside, so I know it has no chlorine in it. And that is nice. We don't want that, because a lot of times your plants are not going to thank you for chlorine. Now, I was saying about how different people are planting things that they get from the grocery store. This isn't done yet. I have to add more water, but I'm going to do that off camera. I want to show you right here. See the end of that? That is a leek. And when you buy them at the grocery store, they have the end on them, and you can see sometimes little fuzzy things sticking out. Those are actually where the roots will start. And you can cut them off an inch or so above the bottom, just about to the first digit or partway between the first and second digit of your finger. And then you just stick that down in your grow bed. Okay, you want to leave some of it out, as you can see here. You don't want to bury it. You don't want to have your stones, rocks, or vermiculite over top of it. But you put it down in there and it'll hold it upright. Those roots will grow. Likewise, if you have, say, herbs, or if you're growing houseplants, just regular pretty green houseplants, a lot of them, if you cut them off, like pothos and ivies and things like that, you can cut them off basically anywhere and stick them in water and they'll start to grow roots. Anything you can do that with, you can stick down in here as well, and it'll grow the roots just like it would in a glass of water, except that you don't have to keep changing the water to keep it from going stinky, because we're oxygenating the water. So here I have 3 leeks, and I'm just planting them kind of in a row, just because. And then here I have celery. It looks like a flower because I cut it off about an inch up. Now it looks like I may have let this go a little bit too long. It looks like the rooty part might be rotting. I'm going to try it anyway. I'm going to put it in here. And that's the thing. When you're doing stuff like this, just don't be scared. Don't be nervous. Nothing's bad. Nothing's good. If it doesn't work, if it dies, you take it out and you put something in its place. And here we have several different kinds of lettuce, and I'm doing the same thing with them. Just putting the little bottom parts in here. I have different kinds. I have like a red lettuce, and I have a green leafy lettuce and something else. And just put them in, and I'm happy to say I still have more room. Now this might be a little bit closer together than you would normally want to plant things. In fact, I might want to spread the leeks out. But as far as the lettuces and things go, I harvest from them regularly as they grow. And that's a way that you can keep lettuce propagating and growing and producing and yielding fruit for your labor for a longer period of time. It's just, as it grows, if you want to eat some of it, you don't need to pull out the whole plant. You can snip off the outer leaves, and then that center will continue to grow. Or you can, with a lot of things, you can just cut them down, snip them, trim them, and they'll still continue to grow from the roots. And so you don't end up with kind of an annual that just has a little season. You end up with something that just lasts forever. Basils and things like that, you can trim them off. Parsley, you can trim it off. Leave some leaves so that it gets the sunlight and things, and just trim off what you need, and it'll keep producing. It'll keep growing for quite a while, if not indefinitely. And so that's really going to be very nice. I'm going to enjoy this. It's going to go in the fish room. I have top shelves in my fish room that I don't want to put fish on. It'd be too hard to feed them all the time. I'm going to put this up on there because every single shelf I have here is already taken up. Now, this would be a lot easier if I were using a camera to film this particular episode, but I'm actually using my laptop because the camera is currently busy uploading a video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come around there and grab this. I want to show you, if I can, it's going to be shaky. I apologize in advance. I'm going to show you kind of what one of my grow beds looks like. I'm just going to show you the closest one. There are some plants there that were grown from seed. There are some plants in there that were grown from things bought at the store. Some of them have been harvested half to death, and I might rip them out and put other things in instead. So you'll get to see a little bit of everything there. And like I said, you fill this up until just about a half inch, about one finger digit, one segment of your finger, until the water is just a little bit less than reaching that. Say you put your finger at the top of your growth medium, the water will be just beyond your finger. Okay, if you put this knuckle right at the top of your soil, your vermiculite or your stone, you put your knuckle above that, your water will come right to just about below that. And it doesn't have to be exact. You just want to make sure that whatever you're growing things in, whatever you're putting in here to hold your plants upright, actually goes a bit above the water. Okay? And that just helps things out. And you want to, you can also, before I take you over to show you that bed, you can also take plants that you're growing in soil. Let's say you're growing in soil and you try the hydroponics and you really like it and you think, well, I don't want to grow any of my plants in soil anymore. I want to transfer them from soil to a hydroponic system. Easy to do. Easy to do. What you do is you take your plant out of the pot, gently, 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 shake as much of the dirt off as you can, and then have a container of non-chlorinated water that's kind of room temperature. You don't want to shock the plant with something really hot or really cold. And then you'll take the plant in that water and you'll just kind of swish it around very gently, cleaning off all the dirt. And the reason you want to do that is because if you leave the dirt on and put it into a hydroponic system, at that point, the soil in that much water constantly, that wet, can encourage root rot. So you don't want that. So just remove all your dirt. Go ahead and put it in your aquaponic system. I sometimes worry about certain kinds of plants that maybe growing them in water would be bad for them. But I can tell you right now that I have some aloe. I have some aloe growing in a hydroponic system, and it's doing well. It's not getting rotten or anything. I was worried about it, but I decided to try it. It's working. So, just experiment. Don't be afraid unless it's something you really, really love and don't want to risk. Don't be afraid to try things. If they don't work, just try something else until you find something that does work. Okay, I'm going to come around and grab the camera here as soon as I push my vermiculite out of the way. All right, here we go. I'm coming to get you. Coming to get you. And here we go. All right, guys. Let's see. Shaky camera, like I said. Close your eyes so you don't get dizzy. All right, here is one of our hydroponic beds. Now, you can see there in the upper left corner, I have some kind of cabbage and some celery. Now, those were both taken from cuttings that my mother gave me. And then further on, we have things that were grown from seed and some things that have been completely harvested. And this is the bed. See how nice everything's starting to look? That is the bed that I let the bearded dragon Spike. Yeah, I put her in there and just I put her in that bed and I just let her crawl around and she ate whatever she wanted. So, okay. So if you saw some things that looked like they were chomped off, that's probably because they were. But anyway, that's how you do a really simple hydroponic system. And I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you like it, feel free to subscribe to see more. Thanks a lot, guys. I'm going to let you go now. Bye-bye.